cold-hearted CEO and his heartwarming assistant. Taekook fan fiction. Boy X boy love story. Please do not take it so seriously. Jungkook was the epitome of precision. The CEO of John Enterprises was known for his calculated decisions, perfect punctuality, and icy demeanor. From his pressed suits to the black Rolex on his wrist, he was untouchable, a man sculpted from discipline and distance. Everyone feared disappointing him. That's why when Kim Taehyung, the new hire, was selected as Jungkook's personal assistant, the entire office exchanged pitying glances. Taehyung, with his delicate features, expressive eyes, and soft mannerisms, looked like he belonged in a gallery, not in the line of fire of the cold CEO. First week was rough. "You're 3 minutes late," Jungkook said without lifting his head. "Sorry, sir." "The elevator." "I didn't ask for a reason. I expect punctuality, not excuses." Taehyung swallowed hard. This was his dream job. He couldn't give up, not yet. But even the smallest things invited Jungkook's scolding. A coffee with 1 sugar cube instead of 2, printing a 23-page report instead of 24, failing to remind him of a 2-minute Zoom meeting. It was unbearable, yet Taehyung endured with a calm, graceful smile. Someone noticed. Park Jimin, Jungkook's younger brother and the head of the creative department, had a different energy, warm, playful, the golden retriever to Jungkook's Arctic wolf. Jimin took an instant liking to Taehyung. "Hyung is impossible, right?" Jimin laughed during a shared lunch break. Taehyung chuckled nervously. "I'm trying my best. You're doing amazing. Trust me, it's not you, it's him. He's like a vending machine that only gives out ice." Taehyung laughed and Jimin's heart fluttered. Over the weeks, Jimin kept teasing his brother about Taehyung. "Hyung, that new assistant of yours is really handsome. Don't you think so?" "He's competent," Jungkook said, flipping a page. "Only competent? I think he's brilliant. Maybe even the kind of person who could warm your frozen heart." Ridiculous. But Jimin wasn't joking. He even told their parents, Mr. and Mrs. John, about Taehyung. "He's kind, humble, and stunning. Maybe he's the one who could change Jungkook." His mother, thrilled by the idea, extended a sudden invitation, a family vacation to Jeju Island, and Taehyung was formally invited. Taehyung hesitated, but Jimin convinced him. "It'll be fun, and maybe you'll get to see a different side of Jungkook." The Johns were warm and welcoming. Mrs. John instantly adored Taehyung and introduced him to all their relatives. But among them was John Kyungo, Jungkook's flirtatious cousin. From the start, Kyungo was mesmerized by Taehyung's beauty. "Wow, Jungkook, your assistant is something else," he whispered. "Are you sure he's just your employee?" Jungkook ignored him. But when he saw Kyungo laughing loudly with Taehyung, brushing his arm, feeding him grilled shrimp, something inside Jungkook snapped. He watched from the poolside, drink untouched, fists clenched. That night, while everyone played games around a bonfire, Jungkook stood far away, eyes burning on Taehyung's bright smile, a smile he never gave Jungkook. Time skip. After the vacation, Jungkook's behavior changed. But not in the way anyone expected. He became colder. Taehyung could no longer do anything right. Every task came with criticism. Every minute mistake was met with biting sarcasm. The warmth Taehyung had started to believe was possible evaporated. He began to feel unworthy, unwanted. He dreaded going to work. Finally, one Friday, after being accused of misplacing a client's file he had not touched, he stood up with teary eyes. "I resign, sir." Jungkook looked up, stunned, but said nothing. Taehyung bowed stiffly and walked away. Jimin was furious with his hyung. He stormed to his office, fuming in anger. "Happy now?" Jimin said. Jungkook couldn't even answer. Days turned to weeks. Taehyung was gone. The office was colder. Jimin noticed Jungkook sitting in his office for hours, just staring. "You're unbelievable," Jimin snapped one day. "You pushed him away because you were jealous of Kyungo. And now what? You miss him, don't you?" Jungkook didn't deny it. "I don't know why I was so angry," he said quietly. "I couldn't stand seeing someone else so close to him. But I never told him how I felt. I just punished him for it." "Then fix it," Jimin said, "before someone else makes him smile the way you never did." Time skip. Jungkook found the small design studio Taehyung had started working at, tucked in a quiet street downtown. He stood outside for nearly 30 minutes before finally gathering the courage to go in. But Taehyung didn't even let him speak. "I have nothing to say to you," he said, voice flat. "Please," Jungkook murmured. "Just hear me out." Taehyung didn't even look at him. "You were never interested in hearing me out. Jungkook, go back to your office. I don't belong in your world." He walked away, leaving Jungkook standing alone in the lobby, heart pounding, hands clenched. For the first time in years, Jungkook shut down. He stopped showing up early. His meetings were delayed or missed altogether. His normally spotless office was cluttered. The entire staff felt the storm in the air as the once calm CEO grew irritable and erratic. His coldness turned to volatile anger. Files slammed on desks. Mistakes, even minor, were met with sharp words. Employees whispered in break rooms, scared of his unpredictable moods. Jimin knew. His older brother wasn't angry at the world. He was heartbroken, confused, and worst of all, his pride wouldn't let him beg. So Jimin and Mrs. John took matters into their own hands. Took 2 hours of heartfelt talking, some tea, and a few gentle tears from Mrs. John to finally convince Taehyung to consider returning. "Not for Jungkook," Mrs. John said softly, "but for yourself. So he learns what he lost and maybe learns how to hold it right this time." Taehyung finally agreed, but he came back changed. Gone was the shy, warm boy with soft smiles and sparkling eyes. In his place stood a stoic, composed professional. "Good morning, Mr. John," he said formally on his first day back. Jungkook froze in his chair. "Taehyung, I'll be working under the executive division as liaison with client services. I've been briefed. I'll keep things strictly professional." He bowed politely and walked away, not once glancing back. Jungkook tried. He brought Taehyung coffee again, only for it to be left untouched. He complimented Taehyung in meetings, only to get a curt nod in return. He stayed late hoping to catch him on the way out, only to watch Taehyung leave with headphones in, eyes on the elevator doors. And then came Lee Sunwoo, a new marketing executive. Charming, confident, always finding a reason to talk to Taehyung, sharing inside jokes, touching his arm during presentations, bringing him snacks. Jungkook felt the burning jealousy consuming him. Until one night, Jungkook entered the break room and saw Sunwoo feeding Taehyung a piece of cake, their faces inches apart. Something inside him shattered. That evening, Jungkook cornered Taehyung in the hallway just before he could leave. "Wait. I'm off duty, Mr. John," Taehyung said quietly. "I don't care." Jungkook stepped closer, eyes wild, heart pounding. "Why are you letting him touch you like that? Laugh with you like that? Taehyung's brows lifted. That's none of your business. It is, Jungkook snapped. He backed Taehyung against the wall, hand pressed above his shoulder. Taehyung's eyes flickered in shock, but he held his ground. Are you jealous? Jungkook leaned in, voice trembling. I am. I'm losing my mind watching someone else enjoy what I never deserved to have. Then he did it. He kissed him. It wasn't careful. It was desperate, laced with guilt, longing, and panic. When he pulled away, his eyes were glossy. I'm sorry. I don't have the right. But I'm in love with you. I was too proud. Too cold. And I pushed you away the moment I started falling for you. And now I'm... His voice cracked. I'm scared it's too late. Taehyung, breathless, stared up at him, eyes unreadable. Then prove it, he whispered and walked away. Jungkook didn't waste another second. From that moment on, he was relentless, not in dominance but in devotion. He didn't just want Taehyung back in the office. He wanted him back in his heart. During meetings, he'd sit beside Taehyung instead of across the table. His fingers would brush lightly against Taehyung's hand when passing a file, lingering just a second too long, sending a quiet jolt of electricity through Taehyung's veins. One afternoon, as Taehyung leaned over to show him a document, Jungkook's hand gently slid over Taehyung's thigh beneath the polished table. The soft touch made Taehyung freeze, a shiver crawling up his spine, but he said nothing, just cleared his throat and continued, his voice slightly shaken. Became a silent game. Every time Jungkook stood behind Taehyung while he worked, his hands would brush his waist, light, reverent, like he was grounding himself in Taehyung's presence. Sometimes he would reach out, cupping Taehyung's cheeks so softly that the younger man had to close his eyes just to steady his heart. And once, during a late meeting when the office was quiet and dimly lit, Taehyung slipped away to the washroom. Jungkook followed. The moment the door closed behind them, Jungkook pushed Taehyung gently back against the tiled wall and captured his lips. No hesitation, no words. Their mouths moved in quiet hunger, hands tangled in fabric, pressed chest to chest. It wasn't lust. It was aching, wordless need. I can't go a day without touching you, Jungkook whispered breathlessly against Taehyung's lips. Not after I've already lost you once. Taehyung didn't answer. He didn't have to. His fingers curled into Jungkook's shirt, gripping tight. Weeks passed and something changed in Taehyung. His cold exterior began to melt. He smiled again, small secret smiles when Jungkook's hand found his waist. His eyes softened when Jungkook brushed his knuckles against his cheek. He still held back, but the love and desire in his eyes betrayed the walls he was trying to keep up. Then one night, Jungkook invited him to what he said was a company dinner. But when Taehyung arrived, it wasn't at a restaurant. It was at the John's private countryside estate. The garden was glowing with fairy lights. A long table was set for an intimate dinner. And the entire John family was present, Mr. and Mrs. John, Jimin, and a few close relatives. Everyone greeted Taehyung warmly like they were already family. Midway through the meal, as laughter echoed around the garden, Jungkook stood up and walked to Taehyung's side. With eyes only for him, he slowly got down on one knee. Taehyung, he said, voice low and steady. I've built empires, signed multi-million-dollar deals, and stood at the top of every boardroom I've ever entered. But none of that compares to what I felt when you looked at me again after everything I did to lose you. Taehyung's breath hitched. You changed me, Kim Taehyung. You made me human. You made me love. And if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life making you feel every ounce of that love. He opened a small black box. Inside sat a silver ring, simple, elegant, and glinting under the lights. Will you marry me? There was a moment of still silence. Then Taehyung smiled, tears shining in his eyes as he whispered, Yes. The garden erupted in joy. Mrs. John hugged him tightly, whispering, Thank you for bringing our son back. Mr. John shook his hand, warmly calling him son. But the loudest cheer came from Jimin, who jumped up, clapping wildly. I told you, he grinned, pulling Taehyung into a hug. You're the only one who could melt that iceberg. Now I officially have the best brother-in-law in the world. The wedding reception was nothing short of spectacular, held at a luxury oceanfront resort, with chandeliers glowing like stars and violins echoing beneath the high ceilings. Jungkook wore a tailored black suit with silver cufflinks engraved with Taehyung's initials. Taehyung had chosen a sleek white tux with a satin waist wrap, his hair swept back in gentle waves that framed his ethereal beauty. They had danced under the lights, hand in hand, cheek to cheek, surrounded by family and friends. But through it all, their eyes only saw each other. When they finally stepped into their honeymoon suite, the world went silent behind the heavy mahogany door. Taehyung walked in first, lips still tinted from champagne, cheeks flushed from dancing. He turned slowly, only to find Jungkook locking the door behind him, and then just standing there, staring. Why are you looking at me like that? Taehyung asked, soft and teasing. Jungkook's voice dropped, low and rough. Because you're mine now. Really mine. And in 2 long strides he crossed the room. He caught Taehyung by the waist, pulling him in until there was no space left. Their lips collided, hungry, messy, full of months of tension and ache. Jungkook kissed him like he was memorizing every breath, every soft gasp that escaped Taehyung's lips. He slid his hands into Taehyung's jacket and pushed it off his shoulders, letting it fall to the floor. Taehyung helped him out of his own coat, then his vest, his fingers trembling slightly with anticipation. Slow, Taehyung whispered. I want to feel everything tonight. Jungkook obeyed. He led Taehyung to the bed, large, draped in white silk sheets and scattered rose petals. He gently laid him down, climbing over him with a gaze that was both loving and feral. His hands roamed Taehyung's chest, undoing each button of his shirt painstakingly slow. He lowered his lips to kiss each newly revealed patch of skin, neck, collarbone down the center of his chest, making Taehyung arch under him, fingers tangling in Jungkook's hair. Every time I touch you, Jungkook murmured, pressing kisses to Taehyung's ribs. I remember how close I came to losing this. Taehyung cupped his face, eyes burning. Then don't just touch me, Jungkook. Make me yours. Completely. Clothes were stripped away in a heated rush. Flesh met flesh, and every caress was electric. Jungkook explored him with reverence, his mouth trailing fire down Taehyung's chest over his stomach until Taehyung was breathless, eyes fluttering, back arched in anticipation. When Jungkook finally pushed into him, slow and deep, Taehyung gasped, clinging to him like he was the only thing grounding him to earth. Look at me, Jungkook groaned, thrusting deeper, one hand sliding under Taehyung's thigh. I want to see your face. Always. Taehyung moaned, breathless, sweat glistening on his skin. Jungkook, don't stop. The rhythm built, needy, passionate, and endlessly tender. Every roll of Jungkook's hips drove them both closer to the edge, his hand gripping Taehyung's, their fingers locked like they never wanted to let go. When they finally came, it was together, shuddering and panting, foreheads pressed close, hearts pounding in sync. Jungkook collapsed beside him, pulling him into his arms, stroking his hair as Taehyung buried his face in his neck. "I love you," Jungkook whispered. "More than I can ever say." "You don't have to say it," Taehyung replied softly, placing a kiss to his collarbone. "I feel it every time you touch me." And in the soft golden morning light that followed, they slept tangled in each other, no longer CEO and assistant, not even just lovers, but husbands bound by heart, body, and soul. The end. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you want a special episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.